Welcome back to the Talking Sports Podcast, hosted by Peter DiBiasi and John Rocco Trumpbour right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Guys, appreciate you guys clicking on either the audio version on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or watching this on YouTube, which is our main platform. Appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us with all the videos, with all social medias, and obviously the reason you picked this episode. We'll be breaking down the college football playoff, the 4 teams. We'll break down the matchups. We'll go to the championship. We'll give you guys our winner, and then we'll get out of here. Guys, the comment section is open. Drop a comment. Who do you think winning the Fiesta Bowl? Who do you think is winning the Peach Bowl? And then who do you guys got taking home the national championship? But before we dive into all the content, Jer has a couple of messages for you guys.
Yeah, guys, as always, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Talking Sports PD. We have big news. We're doing a new promotion. As you see, I'm wearing this Talking Sports PD, Talking Sports baseball jersey that we are actually going to be giving out and doing a giveaway for. We're going to be posting it tomorrow with all the requirements that, you got to follow to, possibly win one of these. It's a pretty cool jersey, great material, cool design with the logo, kind of like the Royals jersey. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to be posting all the requirements on our social media platforms tomorrow, the 28th. And yeah, just follow it. And within a week, we'll pick a winner. And yeah, you could be getting one of these jerseys. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Pete thinks it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a free jersey too. So, if you're already following us, just, follow along and hopefully you have a great chance to win one. So those are going to be posted on at Talking Sports PD, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. So yeah, just follow along and you have a chance to win a jersey.
Yeah, guys, all those obviously in the description, and obviously in the post, you'll see the full jersey. Obviously, Jared can't show you the full jersey in this video, but you see the full jersey. And if you have any questions about us, you can obviously DM us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, or wherever you guys want to message us, and we can answer your questions. But like Jared said in the post, it will give you guys exactly what we're not going to get into it now, but exactly what you have to do. It's nothing complicated. It's gonna be pretty much straightforward, but make sure you guys have to follow our social medias, or you have to follow either Instagram or Twitter in order to complete the giveaway or a chance to win. But with enough said, we're going to dive into our topic for our episode. Guys, drop a like, drop a comment, all that fun stuff. But we're going to be talking about the college football playoff. We did this last year. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, we're going to do it again. So we're going to start here with the Peach Bowl. The Peach Bowl is between the number 1 seed, the Georgia Bulldogs, who finished an undefeated season, capping off with an SEC championship win over LSU. And they're going to be taking on the 4 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who did not play in the Big Ten championship due to the loss to Michigan. That was their only loss, and they snuck in that final 4 spot due to the USC loss in the Pac-12 championship. So Ohio State's the 4, Georgia's the 1. We're going to kick it off. We're going to kick it off Ohio State, Jared. I'm going to ask you first, what does Ohio State need to do to right the wrong against Michigan and then knock off, obviously, the defending national champs, the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, so one of my great friends is an Ohio State football fan, and he kind of put it in, I think, like a good little term. He said we got nothing to lose this game because there was a chance Ohio State wasn't going to make the playoffs. But now that they're in, they have like a great opportunity, especially they're going against Georgia, who's everyone's favoring Georgia to beat them. So they could really, mix it up here in the game. And I got 3 keys for Ohio State. I think one of the keys is you want to make it a shootout. CJ Stroud is much better than Stetson Bennett. And that's going to be in Ohio State's favor if it becomes a shootout, especially going against a Georgia D whose defensive line is crazy good and big. So if Ohio State could, make it a shootout, they really perform in those types of games with that high power offense and the receivers, especially with the better quarterback in this matchup. So I think that's the first key that would really benefit Ohio State. And then second, you got to complete those big plays that Georgia gives you. You saw in the Tennessee game, Hooker, he really couldn't complete the big plays. I'm not saying they were going to win that game, but the opportunities he was given, he didn't make that big play to give them a chance. In Georgia, like throughout the game, there could be 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 like plays that if you complete, could really like a 40-yard gain or a 30-yard gain instead of going like 3 and out. It really creates a spark for that offense. So you got to complete the big plays when that stellar Georgia defense, gives them up. And then lastly, you got to stop the run. The trenches, Georgia just dominates. They're bigger than most teams in the trenches. So I mean, Ohio State's defense really has to stop the run, make Stetson Bennett uncomfortable, make him out of rhythm. And if they could, Georgia loves running the ball. So if you could just, not saying you're just gonna completely destroy the run, where they have no run game, but you got to contain it, make it smaller gains. I mean, they'll probably break out in a big play here and there. It's nothing you could do about that. But if you just, don't give them rhythm within their offense and drives, make Stetson Bennett throw with 3rd and 6 rather than, a 3rd and 1, they run it for a first down. You got to control that run. And yeah, those are my 3 keys for Ohio State to possibly win this game.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Ohio State, obviously, when you go up against Georgia's caliber of defense, they're not going to give you obviously endless opportunities to make big plays. So like you said, you have to hit on that 1 or 2 opportunities to get in plus range or just big play. Big thing with Ohio State, when they've been at their best this year, it's been their ability to consistently run the ball, and they have a 2-headed system with Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. Both of those have been battling injuries throughout the year. Both of them have not been fully healthy. I don't know their full 100% status for the Peach Bowl or obviously the semifinal, but they've been at their best when they can run the ball. They can run the ball efficiently, and it takes a little pressure off C.J. Stroud. I mentioned earlier before we started recording, I told Jared like C.J. Stroud's better when he's in more of a controlled environment. Obviously, indoor stadium is that in controlled environment. That's where he'll be playing. It's going to be in Atlanta, being indoors, be where the Falcons play. It's the Mercedes-Benz Dome, so it's going to be an indoor stadium. So that helps. And Ohio State's defense has been, I think, very interesting. Like, they haven't played a ton of elite offenses consistently, but I think we go back to that Penn State game, JT Tuimola, I think I got his name right. Yeah, I think I got his name right. He was electric, and he had a couple sacks. He was all over the field. He kind of changed the tone of that Penn State game, because it was a very close game for most of the game, and the game ended not being a close game. Ohio State kind of ran away with that in the second half or fourth quarter. So Ohio State's gonna
3 takeaways.
Yeah, he had a couple takeaways. So Ohio State's going to have to defend. Look, Georgia is going to run the ball. They're going to consistently run the ball. I think the biggest thing for Ohio State, they just have to kind of find their offense through the run game. I think when they make C.J. Stroud just become a pure passer, and when he's dropping back 45, 50 times, they kind of struggle. But when they can consistently run the ball and kind of get into that play action, get into those easy downs, with C.J. Stroud, it opens up for probably the best receiver in the country, even though he didn't win the Blindenkoff Award, which goes to the best receiver in the country. And then there's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's an absolute stud. He would be the number 1 receiver off the board if he could come out this year's draft. For his sake, unfortunately, he can't. For our college football fans' sakes, he can come back for another year, so we get to watch him for another year. But he's been an absolute stud for Ohio State. Obviously, they're missing Jackson Smith and the Jing, but he has been basically nothing this season in the sense of his ability to get on the field. Obviously, we saw his Rose Bowl performance last year against Utah, where he was unbelievable, one of the best receiver performances we've ever seen in a single game. But yeah, Ohio State, I get it. What your friend said about, I get it. Like they're not favored, right? They're not favored, and they're not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be here, but they snuck in at the last minute. But they're still Ohio State. Like they're not. This isn't Cincinnati from last year when they played Bama, where they're kind of have free money. Like this is Ohio State, who still has championship aspirations, Big Ten championship aspirations. They have 5 stars. They're one of the best teams in the country, best recruiting teams in the country. So this is Ohio State. I get it in the sense that they're not supposed to be here, and I get it that they're like they're playing with a little bit of house money, but they're still Ohio State, and there's still expectations. And when you're Ohio State, it's championship or bust. It's same with Georgia. It's same with Alabama. Getting there with Michigan, TCU is a different story. But Ohio State's championship or bust.
I have 2 actually cool little stats. Ohio State hasn't been underdogs since 2 years. In 2 years, and Ohio State hasn't lost back-to-back games in 9 years. That's pretty cool. But I mean, feel like college football teams aren't put in the position to lose kind of back to back much,
Yeah, the top teams are not in the
Yeah.
obviously that position. But look, I like Ohio State. I think Joel Klatt, who works for Fox Sports One, has said this perfectly. Ohio State has a sixth gear. Like every team has 5 gears, if you think about that. Ohio State has that sixth gear where they can be one of the best teams in the country. They just don't always get to that sixth gear. They didn't get that against Michigan. They're a better talent, more talented team than Michigan. Ohio State's the second talented, most talented team in the playoff. They're behind Georgia, in my opinion. They're way more talented than Michigan. They just haven't been able to get to that sixth gear where can take them over the top. They're going to have to get to that sixth gear in this game if they want to have a chance to win.
I think the best way they could do that is obviously protecting CJ Stroud, keeping him in the pocket, and he's got to get the ball out quick because, I mean, you can't. I mean, their offense line is pretty good, but you can't, stay in there for a couple more than like three seconds with this Georgia D.
We got Jalen Carter coming up the middle.
Yeah,
and you guys obviously legit edge rushers for Georgia. This team's legit. So with that not being said, JR, we're going to shift over to the Georgia Bulldogs, the number one overall seed, the defending national champions. They beat everybody on their schedule. We remember the Tennessee game that was hyped up. They beat up on LSU offensively in the SEC championship game. This team did everything they were supposed to do. Georgia's the one seed. They're in Atlanta. JR, give me some keys to the game for the Georgia.
I think a lot of the keys for Georgia is kind of based off what you said, some of your points for Ohio State, which is you got to dominate the trenches. You got to stop the run game. You said if Ohio State could get that run game going, it sets up they could get into that sixth gear and CJ Stroud doesn't have to throw the ball 50 times. So you got to stop that run game. If you let them, have a steady run game, driving it down, CJ Stroud is going to make those throws that, he needs to make on like a 3rd and 6 and just keep the ball moving. And another thing, like you mentioned, Marvin Harrison, you got to key on Marvin Harrison. You can't let him get into a rhythm. You can't let him and Stroud, be on the same page out there. You got to stop him, make other receivers and make plays. Like you said, and Jigba's not even playing. I'm not saying they have still really good receivers, but if you could just keep Marvin Harrison out of the game, it's not going to allow that passing game to look and hit that sixth gear, like you mentioned. And within the trenches, you got to get CJ Stroud, move him out of the pocket, move him while he's throwing the ball. You can't let him just sit in the pocket and just keep throwing it down the field. Because I think his completion percentages drops like 10 or 20 percentage points when he's out of the pocket. He does not like the move. He's not really a mobile quarterback as much. And, within that run game, Stetson Bennett's not going to be able to, he's really good, but you don't want to put too much on his shoulders. You want him just to be in rhythm, throw the ball once or twice per down and, really establish that run game. Cause that's your DNA, that trenches ball. So yeah, keep it in rhythm, steady drives, and just control the game and clock management.
Yeah, the fun thing or the interesting thing about Georgia, they have a 4-headed running back monster. Look, I think their main guy obviously is Kenny McIntosh. He's their leader in rushing yards. They also have Dejon Edwards, Kendall Milton, all above 500 rushing yards. And they have freshman Branson Robinson, who is almost at 300, who's super explosive, who's obviously their future at the running back position because he's super young. But they have 3 guys over 500 rushing yards each.
That's crazy.
So they run the ball. They run the ball, and they're going to run the ball. And that's a tough task for this Ohio State defense that doesn't particularly stop the run at the best of their ability. That's like how Michigan beat them. And they're deep. Yeah, Ohio State's defense isn't a world beaters, but they also have peaked and they have also dipped. But Georgia, well, they're running the ball and they play defense. We're talking about the 2 key guys I love on defense. You got Jalen Carter, who's going to be a top 5 pick. He's a ferocious guy up the middle as a D tackle. And then Kelly Ringo, who's one of the best corners. I saw in a mock draft yesterday. He was projected to go 8 in the mock draft. So these are 2 top 10 defensive players potentially in the draft. And Kelly Ringo is one of the best corners in the country. So their defense is going to get after you. Statistically, they're as good as last year's defense. Roster-wise, they might not be as good, but statistically, they're as good as last year's defense. So this defense is a menace. They struggled in that LSU game. LSU does have a good offense. I think LSU's peaked this year with very solid offense. Jaden Daniels, LSU's a very good quarterback. But, yeah, that was a little interesting game for Georgia's defense. On their offensive side of the ball, they have a receiver that doesn't probably get enough recognition, in my opinion, from not like the legit college football analyst, because he was a Blindenhoff Award finalist. It was Jalen Hyatt, who the wide receiver for Tennessee, who eventually won it. It was Marvis, and Blindenhoff Award is obviously not obviously, but is the receiver awards. It goes to the best receiver in the country. So it was Jalen Hyatt, receiver from Tennessee, who he eventually won it. It was Marvin Harrison Jr., who was Ohio State, and then it was Brock Bowers for Georgia. So he was a finalist. He has had an incredible year. He has 9 touchdowns. He's kind of like, he has 9 scrimmage yards, touchdowns. He can run the ball in the end zone. He can catch the ball. He's like that wide receiver, tight end, running back hybrid kind of weapon, and he's incredible. And that's going to be very interesting how how Ohio State deals with Brock Bowers, because Stetson Bennett, look, he's not going to take over the game with his arm talent or his arm ability, but he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He does his thing. He had 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, completed about 68% of his passes for 3,400 yards. That's a rating of 154. Like, he's a very solid quarterback. I don't think he was a Heisman finalist, in my opinion. He was there at the Heisman. He was one of the 4 finalists. That's a different conversation for a different day. I don't think he was a Heisman finalist or deserved to be a Heisman finalist. But Stetson Bennett obviously just won a national championship. He knows how to win these games. He's the reason that Kirby Smart, the coach of Georgia, trusts him, because they have 5 stars on the bench, like 4 and 5 stars that are high recruits, probably more talent. But Stetson Bennett knows what to do to win games, and that's all he does. Stetson Bennett wins games. So Georgia's super talented. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball down your throat. Like you said, Jeff, Ohio State cannot stop the run and get off the field.
Yeah, they're toast.
They're done. They're done. That's literally anybody. You number one key when you're playing Georgia, you have to stop the run, and they can hit you with so many different running backs and so many different change of pace. It's just a dynamic running game that's very fun to watch and very interesting to watch, because you don't see that all the time now. Just teams with 3 running backs, potentially 4 with Branson Robinson, running the ball down your throat. It doesn't happen anymore. It definitely does not happen anymore. But if Ohio State can kind of slow that down somewhat, you can't take that away. It's a very tough ask. Georgia has a good offensive line. Broderick Jones, who's one of their tackles, he's going to be a potential first round pick. So Georgia's a battle line, but Ohio State's going to have to be able to get off the field, put Stetson Bennett in obvious passing situations, like obvious pass, 3rd and 7. 3rd and 3, they'll run the ball on you. Like, they'll run the ball and they'll get the first down. 3rd and 7, you're not going to run the ball. So obvious passing downs helps Ohio State. But look, if Georgia just controls the game, running the ball, this could be a boring Georgia game where they can win 24-10, and you watch the game and you're like, I never thought they were going to lose. Like, we know sometimes those games because Georgia just runs the ball and they play defense. But these are 2 super talented teams in the country. These are 2 teams that kind of have 2 different style of plays, but they focus on one on the offense, run the ball, which opens up the pass. I think Ohio State has that 6th gear in passing. I don't know if Georgia does. I think Georgia has been more of a consistent running the ball.
And I think one thing to, like, if Georgia, receives the ball first and they just do a 5+ minute drive, just running the ball, like just short plays, get a touchdown, up 7-0. I think that's really going to be the statement, and kind of Ohio State cannot be put in that situation, because when Georgia's up, that just feeds what they do, just feeds into their game. And Ohio State's going to be fighting from behind, like you said. CJ Stroud's just going to be throwing the ball, and Ohio State's got to stop that first Georgia drive, and then I think we'll have a ball game. But if Georgia unless Ohio State receives the ball first and scores, but if Georgia just first time they get the ball, runs down the field, scores a touchdown, up 7-0, I think, we're going to be thinking, okay, I think Georgia's going to advance this game.
Yeah. So with that being said, JR, before we get to the Michigan TCU game, who do you got winning? You got the 1 seed Georgia, you got the 4 seed Ohio State. Who you got making it to SoFi Stadium in the national championship?
I got Georgia winning this game. I think they'll just, kind of dominate the game, like we said. But Ohio State, hopefully, we have a good game here, and hopefully Ohio State shows up and maybe even hits that 6th gear like you were talking about. But yeah, I got Georgia winning this game.
Yeah, you want to be fancy, you want to be sexy with the Ohio State pick. I just don't know if I've seen it from Ohio State that 6th gear like I was talking about. I think Georgia's too disciplined. Georgia's too talented. Their defense is awesome. I'm going to ride with the Bulldogs. I picked Georgia to beat Michigan last year, where a lot of people were going with Michigan after Georgia's debacle against Alabama in the SEC championship. And obviously, if you pick Georgia, it kind of worked out in your favor. They took home to beat Michigan and they beat Alabama. But I like Georgia. I think they're going to be too much. I think the run game's going to be too much. So I agree with you.
I am hoping for a good game, though.
Yeah, I think this has a chance to be a good
Yeah.
game. But yeah, I think Georgia at the end of the day takes home the victory. Okay, guys, comment down below who you guys got. Georgia, Ohio State, let us know. Michigan, the 2 seed Michigan, 3 seed TCU in the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. So, Jerry, I'm going to start with you. Give me some keys to the game for TCU.
For TCU,
Yes,
I think the key for the game is you got to contain that Michigan run game. Obviously, Blake Corum's not playing, but Donovan Edwards is very good still. And that's like their bread and butter. They still run the ball kind of like Georgia. Not as much as Georgia, but in this game, that's going to be a key for them. And I think huge for TCU. They've been, one of those teams that, always come back in the fourth quarter to win it, one possession games. If they could just play from ahead this game and, put so much pressure on Michigan, I think that's huge for them, especially, their defense, who's not going to have to, let's get this stop and get the ball back. Hopefully we could score and tie it up or something. If the defense could just play relaxed and, just play from ahead, I think that's because obviously the TCU defense is, they're struggling, not struggling, but the weak point. Yeah, the weak point of this TCU team. So if they could play more relaxed, play from ahead, I think that's huge. And I think something for TCU, they could get creative here on offensive play callings and stuff like that, mix it up. Because they're Max Duggan, great. I think Quentin Johnson, I believe his name is. Yeah. He's great. And I after watching that Kansas State TCU game, I really liked Max Duggan, especially towards the end. The dude gave it his all. Someone actually I want the Jets to maybe draft later on in the draft. But yeah, if they could, create these, have the opportunities to be creative with the play calling and hit those big plays, I think that's huge. Obviously, that's something that if any team does, they'll probably have a good chance of winning, but it's more specific for this TCU team. And they got to contain the defensive side. They got to contain McCarthy, keep him in the pocket, make him a pocket passer. Because when he uses his legs, that's when he gets dangerous. And that's when he'll pick up that maybe 3rd and 9, just scrambles for 9 yards. And those are killer plays that just kind of just brutal for your defense and just lowers their confidence. But keep him in the pocket, make him a pocket passer, and, make the throws hard for him. They have 2 good cornerbacks, Josh Newton, and I think, forget the other guy's name, Hodges Tomlinson. Those are 2 really good cornerbacks. And I think if, they'll be doing blitz packages and leaving those guys, alone, man to man, if those guys can just, stick with their man for 5 seconds, I think, TCU is really going to stand a chance and make McCarthy throw those like contested balls. Because you saw in Ohio State, he was, he had open guys, like big plays, they were running the ball. But if you make him make plays, I think it's changed the whole game and, puts pressure on him. He's young. So, yeah, I think those are the keys for TCU.
Look, if you went after the Kansas State game, if you don't love Max Duggan, then
I know, right?
There's something wrong.
He was just lying in the touchdown end zone.
And I put that video on our social media, that touchdown. He was giving his all. Well, this kid's not the most talented kid. This kid wasn't even the day one starter in TCU. It was Chandler Morris who got injured, and tough for Chandler Morris, obviously. But Max Duggan came in and hit 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Heisman finalist, not the most talented quarterback in the country, not the most talented quarterback in this college football playoff. But this kid will put everything. Oh my God, my voice almost just cracked right there. Wow. Oh, I need a minute.
Early morning.
Okay. Yeah. Max Duggan makes me choke up here. Max Duggan, he'll do everything to win. He's super he's one of those gritty quarterbacks. And I think if you watch that Kansas State game and you didn't think Max Duggan put everything on the line, then I don't know what you were watching. There's a problem with TCU. Their defense is atrocious. Like you said, struggling. That was a nice way to say they stink. Like their defense isn't good. They weren't good all year. There's a reason, like you said, they were down in so many games, and it took us forever to finally believe in them because your defense just couldn't stop people. So if their offense had a little bit of low, their defense was just like, oh, here you go, touchdown, 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 and they were just down and they came back and they won. Yeah, it's just not what you want to be doing there. But Max Duggan's great. Quentin Johnston's one of the best receivers in the country. He's gonna be a first-round pick. He's a big go up and get it guy. Their defense scares me. It's not like the thing is, it's not like Michigan's offense is super powerful. It's not a firepower offense. Blake Corum's out. He's their best offensive player. Donovan Edwards is very good. He'll be their lead. He'll be their running back. And JJ McCarthy has shown flashes of being very talented and very good. He has also shown flashes of not being good and not being the guy that they benched Cade McNamara for, who took him to the playoff last year. If TCU can have some semblance of defense in this game, they will have a chance. I think their defense played much better against Kansas State. I still think they could have got a couple stops here and there where they just didn't, and Max Duggan had to do everything, and obviously eventually they ended up losing the Big 12 championship to Kansas State. But yeah, I like Max Duggan a lot. I think he's going to give it his all. He's a gamer. Is he going to get bailed out by his defense?
I think it's for the defense. It's more like that D line and linebackers. I think their secondary is all right, like at least their cornerback position. It's just, yeah, their defensive line lets teams run all over them, get those crucial first downs,
which is a problem against Michigan.
Yeah, and yeah, like you just said, and like when Michigan is given those opportunities to make those big plays, and they see that, I mean, they take it and they're successful with that. I think that's what makes their offense, that good. Because of that, they take those opportunities given to them. But I don't think they'll win you a game if they got to make the big play and the crucial, and it's a good defensive game for TCU. I don't think Michigan could make those plays, but when given the opportunity and they have it open, man, like they'll hit those plays.
I also don't think Max Duggan's gonna have to. He might have to play all world, but he's gonna have to play. He's gonna have to play pretty.
He's gonna have to play really good.
Really good. He's gonna have to drop a couple touchdowns, make a couple plays. He might be a little bit exhausted after this game like that against Kansas State. But yeah, I think they're and they have a good running back, Keandre Miller. He's very good. He had 1,300 yards.
He's averaging like what 6.7 yards a carry.
6.2 yards per carry. He had 17 total scrimmage touchdowns. So that includes receiving and rushing.
So I think that's the big key for TCU's. Not as much. Also, we know Duggan. I think Duggan's going to step up and perform, but it's also, can they get that running game going? Because that's going to be huge.
Yeah,
they don't have anything. It's going to be one of those Duggan games where he just gas by the end of it, just willing his team.
I think we both come to the conclusion, obviously, talking about TCU and watching them. Keandre Miller, running back, Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston. They're fine offensively. I don't think we're worried about the offense.
Yeah, we're worried about the
line. It's how Michigan plays their offense. That's going to obviously hinders TCU's chances of winning this game and then obviously advancing.
P, I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that TCU losing to Kansas State helps them in the situation? Like knowing that they already have a loss, they know how they lost, they know why they lost. Do you think that helps them like against Michigan? Or if you think they were undefeated, they'd have more confidence? And I feel like the loss helps them.
Am I allowed to say it doesn't matter? Is that an answer?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm indifferent on that. I think it put a little more, maybe a little more national. I think I think the loss actually put a little more national attention towards TCU because we saw how good Max Duggan is.
I see what you're saying.
That might not be. I don't know if that's. I
don't think that was
a bad thing. I have no idea.
I don't think that was due to the loss. I think that was just the game. If they won, it still would have been
true. Yeah. Okay. Maybe more national attention because how Max Duggan played. It just ended up being a loss. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how TCU does with national perception. But look, you would rather play Michigan than Georgia, in my opinion.
That's true.
And that's who I would rather play. I don't know if the loss hurts them, or maybe it just shows that how much they rely on Max Duggan and that it's.
I think it was kind of a reality check for them, realizing, okay, this is not a Cinderella story. We're human, and now go in and we know what we need to fix up. I'm not saying they will fix it up. I mean, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's like
they're gonna have to defend.
They know that too. And I mean, I think they knew that all year. But I don't know. I think it kind of for the culture in the locker room. I think it kind of helps them.
They're gonna have a chance in this game. Max Duggan's gonna give them a chance. Do they take
Yeah.
it? I don't know. But before we tell you guys we got to win, we got to talk about Michigan. Jared, give me some keys to the game for the team that made it to the semifinals last year, got the doors beaten off them by Georgia, back again as the 2 seed. What do you like from Michigan?
I mean, kind of like we were saying, with like the Georgia Ohio State game again. I mean, Georgia's just they're better in the trenches, and that's something they got to utilize. They got to get that run game going, like we were talking about. Can't put JJ McCarthy in those 3rd and long situations where he has to make a play. Got to hit those big plays when it's given to them, like we were talking about. Michigan, they do that. They're not. I kind of said that a little bit. And I think on the defensive side, they got to get to Duggan, got to keep hitting them, make them uncomfortable. And then when you're doing that, the run game is not going to be going. So win those trenches. And I think the defensive side of the ball is going to be what will win Michigan this game if they play up to their standards. Just play from ahead, make TCU make those big plays. They're better at defense. I think both 100%. We've been talking about that. So I think it's going to come down to the defensive side. And if McCarthy, could scramble, if he's comfortable back there, it's going to be a really hard game for TCU.
I still don't fully trust JJ McCarthy. Like, I still don't trust him as a pure passer for Michigan.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if he's has to make those tough throws, I don't think he's capable of making them yet in his career. But does
he have to be a pure passer to beat TCU? No, I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. Blake Corum's not there. That's 19 total touchdowns that they're losing right there. That is 1,500 total yards that they're losing right there. The funny thing is, Donovan Edwards is coming in, who had 1,000 total yards. This is including receiving and rushing. 1,000 total yards with Michigan and 9 touchdowns. That kid ain't no scrub. Like, Donovan Edwards is a stud.
On 90 carries.
Yes, a stud at the running back position. An absolute stud. He's not Blake Corum, but he's really good. They're very good at running the ball. They're very similar to Michigan. Not Michigan. Michigan's very similar to Georgia. They're going to run the ball, and they have a couple weapons. Cornelius Johnson, that great touchdown against Michigan. Ronnie Bell, who's the leading receiver. But can J.J. McCarthy make enough plays? I don't know. I love Michigan's defense. I think they're very well coached. They're very disciplined. TCU has the better quarterback in this game, and it's not close. Michigan has the better roster. Michigan can run the ball better. They're better coached. They're better than everything. But if we're talking about quarterback to quarterback, Max Duggan is a better quarterback. Max Duggan
that's the most important position.
That might end up winning TCU the game. But Michigan's going to bore you to death. They're going to run the ball. They got good weapons, and they got a ferocious defense. And they've been here before, and Harbaugh is a great coach. But can J.J. McCarthy make enough plays? The biggest thing for J.J. McCarthy that's going from that Max Duggan doesn't have is a good defense.
Yeah.
That's a Max Duggan.
And honestly, good O-line too.
Yes. Max Duggan on this team wins the championship, in my opinion, on Michigan's team. Obviously, on Georgia, he wins the championship too. That's a stupid conversation. But I don't know if I trust J.J. McCarthy enough. I haven't seen it. Like, his stats are pretty good. Like, his stats are 20 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But there's been a couple games where you're just like, against lowly opponents in the Rutgers of the world and the Marylands of the world, and you're just like, this dude just doesn't do it for me. He doesn't make enough explosive plays. And that's why they went from Kane McNamara to J.J. McCarthy, for the exact reason they wanted more explosive plays. The biggest thing J.J. McCarthy has to do, he's better when he's out of the pocket.
Yeah.
He's better when he is on the run, which is crazy. You would think it'd be easier to throw in the pocket. He's better when he's on the run, and he can make a man miss with his legs. If they can do that, if they can get J.J. McCarthy out of the pocket, they're going to win this game. I think they actually can, because I don't trust this TCU's defensive line at all.
Yeah.
I like their corners, but the corners don't go after the quarterback right away. That's obviously the linebackers, and that's the line. So
I think they're going to struggle a lot with keeping JJ in the pocket. He's just going to scramble a couple times during the game and just hit that 30-yard pass, which is going to kill TCU. But like you said, if they could just contain him for just contain him. I mean, he's not going to be contained every play. I mean,
No.
he's gonna get out of there and make a big play. But if you just keep that, very small, then I think they do stand a chance and stuff.
No, they 100%. Yeah. So with that being said, JR, Michigan 2 seed, 3 seed TCU. I don't even know who I'm picking yet. I feel like this is such an interesting game.
Yeah.
Who do you got going? And obviously, we think meeting Georgia in the national championship. But who do you got facing off potentially with Georgia or Ohio State in the national championship?
I'm gonna go with the upside. I'm gonna pick TCU. I think TCU is gonna get crucial turnover. That's gonna change the game, change momentum. Thinking a pick, maybe a fumble. Probably not a fumble because the D line's it. But I got TCU winning this. I wanted to see Duggan win. I want TCU, but I also think this is a prime opportunity for them.
Yeah.
I think Michigan was the match, like you said. Georgia, I'd go Georgia over TCU, but Michigan paired up with Michigan, I think they stand a chance. And I could just see McCarthy just not playing well in classic Michigan. But yeah, I'm going TCU here.
You're killing me. You're killing me, dude. I was thinking, no, he's gonna go Michigan. He's gonna be Michigan.
Nah, TCU is my team.
So I don't even know. I'll stick with my gut just because you picked TCU. I'm gonna go TCU. That was my gut pick. That's what I was like. I'm going TCU. I just think we could totally get burned in this. We can really get burned. It's like Ryan last year picking Michigan and Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
Did you pick up Michigan? Not Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan over
Michigan,
Georgia.
Yeah.
Is that what you did too?
I
picked Georgia.
I think I went Georgia.
I picked them to lose though to Bama in national championship. Whatever, right? So I guess I was wrong there. I like TCU. I don't know. There's something about TCU.
There's like a spark about that.
That's Duggan. It makes the game winning play. I you know what? I'll chalk it up to JJ McCarthy not making enough plays and not having plays.
I agree.
Even though I like Donovan Edwards, he's just not Blake Horn.
I think TCU is definitely going to need to get a turnover throughout one point or another.
One thing that scares me with TCU, their defense is just scary, scary bad.
Yeah.
If they could somehow assemble some sort of an average defense, average. I'm not asking you to be Georgia out there. I'm not asking you
to just rotate the D line, make sure like they're fresh every time, so that you stand a chance. I think. Yeah,
I like TCU. I got TCU in a great game. I think this would be the best game of the whole
game. I think this is gonna be a shootout.
This is the 4:00 game. This is actually the first game. This is the 4:00 game, and then the 8:30 is Ohio State, Georgia, the nightcap. But I like TCU. So before we get out of here, I know it's not the national championship yet. We don't know who's in it, but JR, we don't have to go crazy deep. Georgia, TCU. I got Georgia, TCU. Who do you got taking home the national championship?
I got Georgia in this one. TCU gets a great win over Michigan, but Georgia's just a different beast when it comes to the trenches too, which we're very unsure about with TCU. TCU makes a great run, but at the end, I think Georgia's going to take it home again.
Yeah, look, I think if you're Georgia and you get TCU in the national championship, you're licking your chops. Not saying TCU is scrubs. Obviously, they're in the playoff, and we think they're going in the national championship. Both of us do. I don't know.
Do you think the winner of Ohio State Georgia is the national championship, no matter what?
No.
Okay.
No. I think
so think Michigan wins.
I think Michigan can beat. They did. They beat Ohio State.
I know, but twice 1 year.
That's tough, but I'm not going to say definitely. I think Georgia wins the national championship. So if Georgia wins, yes, no matter who they play. Ohio State wins. Imagine we get an Ohio State TCU matchup. That'd be very cool. Very interesting, very different. But Michigan can beat Ohio State. I still think Ohio State's way more talented than Michigan, and they have that next year. They got to get to that next year. If I keep talking about the next year, they don't get to the next year. Then I'm just talking. I don't know what I'm doing there. So I don't think the winner, but
I know. I feel like we always if they could do this. I mean, but they just
they're more talented than Michigan. Ohio State's more talented than Michigan. They have more dynamic weapons. They have more playmakers. They're better at the quarterback position. They lost to them though, so I'm not going to go on the limb and say the winner of Ohio State Georgia. If it's Ohio State,
I'm the opposite. I think any team that wins that matchup is going to win. I think if Ohio State plays Michigan again, they're going to win. If Ohio State plays TCU, they're going to win. If Georgia plays any of them, they're going to win.
That makes sense. But I got Georgia winning. I got them beating whoever they play in the national championship. If it's a TCU or Michigan, obviously it's TCU. But I got Georgia taking home the national championship. Guys, comment down below. Who do you got winning the Fiesta Bowl between Michigan and TCU? Who you got winning the Peach Bowl? Why do they have these names? Don't know. Or why do they keep these names? I love the names of their bowl games, but you don't need them anymore. For Ohio State and Georgia. And then who do you guys got taking home the national championship? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. But before we get out of here, JR, tell everyone, hopefully they stayed for the end of the video. Who knows?
Yeah.
About the giveaway, social medias, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, guys. So again, with the giveaway, you'll be getting a Talking Sports baseball jersey. It's got the New York skyline on the bottom. It's pretty cool. We'll have a picture up on social medias with all the requirements to enter. Pretty simple stuff. If you're already following us, you're pretty much basically already entered. You just got to do a couple things. But yeah, please, if you're following us, if you've been watching us throughout past year, really hope you have a great chance to win, and hopefully you enter in the giveaway. There's gonna be posts tomorrow, Wednesday the 28th, on all our social medias at Talking Sports PD, Twitter, Instagram. Those are gonna be the main platforms. Maybe we'll post something on TikTok. Well, we're really excited about this. It's our first, giveaway. And I think we're giving out something pretty cool. It's really nice material. It's a cool jersey. It's a free jersey. So why not enter? We're excited about this, and good luck to the lucky winner. But yeah, on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Talking Sports PD. Stay tuned tomorrow. We'll post all the requirements, and we should have the winner within a week or 2 weeks. And thank you for watching, and please subscribe.
Yeah, always please subscribe. But yeah, hopefully everyone had happy Hanukkah, had Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. You got some good presents, got all the fun stuff, enjoyed some time with the family. Hopefully now you're sitting down and watching the end of this episode. But yeah, look for the giveaway tomorrow, literally tomorrow, Wednesday, December 28th. It will tell you, like Jared just said, everything that you need to know about the giveaway. Pretty simple. It's not rocket science. You're not going to be doing anything.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything complicated. And you get a chance to win a very, very cool jersey. And if you want to see the full design, it will be on the graphic. So you'll see the full design. You can take a look at it. And like I said, on Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram, message us with any questions, anything with that. And yeah, we'll respond to you. We'll get back to you with an answer. And hopefully we can help you if you have any questions about anything. Oh, as always, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you don't like to listen or watch on YouTube, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you download the episode. That's always in the link in the description. Cool thing here, we'll see everyone in the new year. We won't be recording until the new year, so hopefully everyone's 2022 ends with a bang. We'll see you guys in 2023. This is Talk Sports Podcast, hosted by Peter DiBiasi and John Rocco Trumpbour. This is our college football playoff breakdown. We'll see you guys in 2023. Thank you.